Today we are going to learn the fifth shloka. There are 4 questions in this shloka. What causes fear? Who is worse than the blind? What is sorrow? What is shame? Now let us learn the shloka. Kasmat bhayameha maranat andhadhiha ko vishishyate ragi kim dukkhama santoshaha kim laghava madhamato yancha. Kasmat bhayamiha maranat andhadiha ko vishishyate ragi kim dukkhama santoshaha kim laghava madhamato yancha. Now let us understand the meaning of individual words in the shloka. Iha kasmad bhayam. What causes fear? Maranat, death. Iha andhat kaha vishishyate. Who is worse than the blind? Ragi, one who is greedy. Kim dukkham. What is sorrow? Asantoshaha, not having contentment. Kim laghavam. What is shame? Adhamataha yancha, begging from a mean person. Once there was a king who had only one son and had pampered him so much that when he became 21 years old, he was lazy and not ready to take up responsibilities. The king fell ill and started to worry about the future of his country. He appointed a minister to train and change his son. The minister promised to make the prince passionate about the country and take up responsibilities. The king leaves for an ashram to get medical help, and on the other side, the minister starts training the prince. One fine day, a golden letter comes to the palace addressing the prince. The letter read, "Hey prince, you will get gold buried under the tree outside the town." Following the letter, out of curiosity, the prince does find the gold. Prince sends a team of soldiers to find who wrote the letter. Looking at all this, the minister advises the prince to not blindly follow unknown letter and focus on the classes. The next day, a new letter arrived. It read, "This is that last letter to you, prince. You will be dead in a few weeks, as the neighboring king is going to attach your kingdom and you will die." Fearing death, the prince consults the minister and asks for his help. The minister suggests the prince to complete the course he had planned for him and assures nothing told in the letter would come true. The prince starts to take life seriously. After a few weeks, the king returns, having recovered from illness, and is surprised to see his son. Addressing the minister and assigning his people with work, The king is amazed in the way his son was commanding and leading the team. The happy king comes to meet the minister to know the reason behind this transformation of his son. The minister explains how he wrote those letters and transformed the prince. The minister explains that the biggest fear of all is death, which helped transform the prince. The king was happy and rewarded the minister. Moral of the story: fear of death transforms people. Once upon a time, there was a wealthy farmer in a far-away village. The farmer was so greedy that he wanted all the good things for himself. Then, one day, he was offered a deal. He was told that he would be given the length of the land he walked in a day, as long as he came back to the point where he started before sunset. To get a head start, early the next morning, the farmer started to cover ground quickly because he wanted to get as much land as possible. He walked for a long distance, and even when he was tired, he kept walking all afternoon. He did so because he did not want to miss this once in a lifetime chance to gain more wealth. Later in the evening, he remembered that the condition to get the land was to get back to the starting point before sunset. Unfortunately, his greed had taken him very far away from the starting point. He immediately began his return journey, keeping an eye on how fast the sun was setting. Then, the closer it came to sunset, the faster he ran. He was exhausted and ran out of breath. But he continued pushing himself. When he finally reached the starting point, before the sun had set, he collapsed and died. All that time the farmer needed was only a small plot of land on which he was buried, even after walking such a long distance. Moral of the story: one should have a limit to desire for things.